Last episode, I reviewed the Revan Lightsaber Pixel Edition by YDDSABER. It does use a micro SD card, but it's a different file system and folder structure than XenoPixel. Similar, but it does require a different tutorial. So let's open up this guy right here and delve inside. So as always, the very first thing you do after inserting your micro SD card into your PC is back up the files. So here is the USB drive, and I'm just going to press Control A to select all, and I'm going to copy those, and I'm just going to put them into my Documents folder. I recommend backing them up to cloud service if you have a cloud service as well. So I'm going to call this YDDSABER Pixel Original. Just in case something screws up, you can always restore it. So now that it's backed up, I'm going to go here, and I'm going to right click on the folder. I'm going to uncheck that and then make sure there's a check mark there. Press apply, press OK. So that'll make all the files read-only. So for instance, if I were to go into here and try to save that, it won't automatically save it because it will not overwrite a read-only file. It's an extra step. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. Okay, so now let's just again work with the SD card. So you can see that there are 28 banks, and each one of these banks is a different sound font. If I go into it, I look at this file called bank switch. I open it.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Alright, so this is Luke Skywalker. I'm going to right click and create a new text file. I'm going to call it Luke Skywalker. This will just make it easier when I come back rather than me having to listen to it. So now I know that this is Luke Skywalker. So inside the sound font folder, you have your blaster folder, so that'll have all the blaster sound effects, your clash sound effects, your drag, your hum, the in sound, the lockup sound, the out sound, the stab sound, and the swing sound. And you'll see that there are a couple of files in here, color matrix and config. This color matrix file doesn't do anything the way that this micro SD card is programmed. This is used when it has the other firmware, and I mentioned that in the review, and that firmware uses a different system altogether. So the color matrix, you can just leave it, it's not going to do nothing. The config file, you do want to delete if you're going to make changes to the blade effect or the color of the blade. The Saber will automatically create a new config file inside this folder when I make changes to the master configuration file. So I could go through each one of these, and I could create the text file. I'm not going to do them all because it's going to take too long. And scrolling to the bottom, you'll see a folder called BGM, and this is your background music. And you can add more music files if you like. And then down here again we have a color matrix file. This is not being used. Same with the setting file. This is not being used. So it gives you the idea that maybe it had the other firmware, but It's not active, so just ignore these two files. This file here is the update file. So this particular file is programmed a certain way to make the saber work more like a XenoPixel. I do have the other ota.hl file from the other company, but I'm not going to put it on because it'll alter the saber itself, and I am not 100% confident that it'll work perfectly fine. So I'm going to send the other OTA file to YDDSABER. They're going to test it for me and put it onto the soundboard, let me know if it works before I go and try it. If it does work, then I will do another video showing you how to convert the soundboard to the other configuration. The other configuration has way more customization. Might not be for everyone because it does have a lot of programming involved. So we're just going to work with the default system. All right, and let's go into the system folder. These are all the built-in sounds that you can change if you want. Things like your charging sound, your mute sound, the different PREONS sound effects. There's a whole bunch of them. There's also some pre-off sound effects as well. And there are a lot more files in here that are actually being used. So not all of them are being used. What you're going to look for is the config file, and it's config.ini. It'll have the little cog, and double click it. What you need to change with the 32-inch blade is the pixel number. 132 is for 92 centimeters. For 82 centimeters, change that to 112. And you can adjust your clash sensitivity. The higher the number, the more sensitive. You can have your stabbing motion turn on. So to turn on, you turn it to a 1. So this way it'll turn the saber on when I do the stab motion, but when I do the stab motion, it will not shut it off. If I wanted to be able to do that, I would change that value to a 1. But I don't want that. Twisting power, on off. So if I want to twist my wrist to turn the saber on, I have 1s. So this is nice because a lot of the times when you're spinning, you might twist your wrist a certain way and the saber shuts off. So you can disable that and change that to a 0. So it'll turn on with a twist but won't turn off. And how sensitive do you want it when you're twisting? The higher the number, the more sensitive it'll be. So if you want it to be a little harder for it to turn on when you twist your wrist, just keep this number low. Swing power, so if you want to swing the saber to turn it on, leave it at 1. And again, the sensitivity. You can leave it the way it is. Okay, so this looks very similar to XenoPixel, except that if you notice for the banks, you don't have an option to change the speed of the blade. Even though they put it in here under the example, it doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't work. Which is unfortunate because it would be nice to be able to adjust the speed of the in and out. So color bank 1 is Luke Skywalker. And I want Luke Skywalker to be green. And it already is. So this value here is your red value. That's your green value. And that's your blue value. So no red, no blue, pure green. The next number here, which is 21, which it should not be, is what kind of blade style. So there are a bunch of different blade styles. I'm just going to turn the word wrap on. And my file looks a little different because I went and added a bunch of different ones that aren't listed. So I've discovered that there are 17 different well, 18 different blade styles. I'm going to put a copy of this line in the description of this video. So if you wanted to be able to just copy and paste this into your own config file, you can. But you can see that 0 is Fireblade, then you have Steady, Pulse, Rainbow Candy, Unstable Crack. So for Luke Skywalker, if I want just a steady blade, I'm going to put a number 1 in there. Now, if I want a special preon, I can use preon numbers 1 to 10. It doesn't exactly tell you in here what those different preons are. You just kind of have to try them. So if I want just a normal in-out, I'll just leave that at 0. If I want a special preon, I would change that number. And if I want to hear what that preon would be, I can just go over here to my folder. So listen, let's just have a listen to preon 3. So it'll play that music file or that sound effect file, and it'll have a special type of ignition. And you can go through your list, and you can see that there's extras on the bottom here that don't even exist yet. But this is how you adjust the color and adjust the blade type and the preon. So I'm just going to set these to standard. I don't know why they're numbered like that. I might have been playing with this. I don't remember. Okay, and when you're done, just save the file and close that. It is very important to remember that if you are making changes to any of the lines in the config file that deal with the banks, you have to make sure that that config file is not there. And an easy way to find those config files is I can just search for it, config, and that's good. That should be the only config file that's being found, is the one in the system folder. So there are no config files in any of the SoundBank folders. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to add a sound font. And I'm going to look for grayscale fonts here. Okay, I'm just going to pick one. So this is all their free sound fonts. All right, so you have a lot of choices here: Asteria, CFX, Profi, Verso, and Xeno. I'm going to download the XenoPixel one and click download. Go to my downloads folder. I use WinRAR, but you can use the built-in zip tool that comes with Windows. I'm going to right-click and choose Extract to XenoPixel. And I'm going to have a look inside here. Okay. I could have also downloaded the Asteria one, and I'll just download it to show you the difference. It really doesn't matter which one you download. The difference is the way the files are going to be named and how they're structured. Okay, and I'm going to extract that one. Well, it kind of looks like they already have both of them in here. So you can see that the Asteria, and let's just open up another one here, 1 second. So you can see the Asteria has them in folders, which is more like the YDDSABER, while XenoPixel has everything just thrown into one folder. So you know what? Let's use the Asteria download. It is more closely related to the YDDSABER. Alright, so I'm going to go and have my folders lined up side by side. And I'm going to create a new folder on my SD card, call it Bank 29. And I'm going to take all these files and I'm going to copy them over here. Now I want my Bank 29 on my right, and I'm going to use Bank 28 on my left. So you can see how the folder structure, like I said in the review, it's pretty much the same as Asteria, with a couple of small changes. The Asteria uses the word blaster, while the YDD uses BLST. So these do need to be changed. And to change them, I'm going to right-click, select them all, choose Rename, and I'm going to call it BLST0. The reason is because it doesn't automatically rename them with just a number beside the 0. It puts the number in brackets. So I will have to go and change these files. Alright, so the blaster folder is done. Now maybe you're wondering, what is this 2.tg file? Again, this is used if you're if it's a Asteria programmed soundboard. So in this case, this file won't do nothing, which is really unfortunate. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the Clash folder. So again, you can see that the YDDSABER has CLSH. And let's go to the drag folder. So drag is called drag. I don't know if it's going to play the other files, if you can have more than one drag. I am not 100% sure. I don't think you can, but just for the sake, let's just rename these. So we're just gonna, again, make sure it matches. So that should be hum01. All right, so these are 4 different files. If you notice, they're all exactly the same file. So we don't need to have 4 of these. They're all the same file size, same date modified. And that needs to be called in01. And now lockup. So I'm going to again rename these. Again, with the out sound effect, they're all the exact same file. So that should be called out01. Okay, so swings, you have swing highs and swing low. So I want to rename all the swing high files. And press the control button down. And right click rename. swing H. Again, keep them exactly the same as the other files on the Saber. And now the lows, same thing. Okay, and I'm just going to put a text file. So this was mercenary, like that. Now you see there's a high swing. The YDDSABER doesn't use that folder at all, so we can just get rid of high swing. There's no stab sound effect included with the mercenary sound font that I downloaded. Not in the Asteria package, but let me just check the XenoPixel. And I don't see a stab. Again, all the same sound files, so let's just delete those. I'm going to actually copy the drag sound effect, and I'm going to use it for a stab sound effect as well. And it should be just called stab01. All right, now we have the mercenary sound font installed on the Saber. I'm going to go back to the system folder and the config file. And it's going to pull it to the side. And I'm going to make a new line. So I'm going to copy the line from there, and I'm just going to paste it and change that to 29. So now I can choose what color do I want mercenary sound font to be. So currently it's set to purple. And you know what, let's just leave it at red. If you want to know what values to set these to, if you head over to Google and you search for RGB color wheel, so here you can select the color. So for instance, if I wanted it to be, oh, I don't know, maybe like a light icy blue, sure. So I want it to be like that color blue. So I just have a look at the numbers. So I want 97 for red, 235 for green, and 255 for blue. So let's do that. 97, 235, and 255. Now what kind of blade do I want with mercenary? I think I would like the, oh, let's do the crack blade. So I'll put number 6 there. And what kind of PREON do I want? Well, I don't know. Again, I haven't taken the time personally to go ahead and list them all in my description here, which I should. So I don't know. Let's use PREON. Let's use PREON 9. Save it. Close it. And that is how you add sound fonts to the YDDPixel Saber. Very simple, similar to XenoPixel, except the folder is structured differently. And unfortunately, you can't control the in and out speed. But other than that, it's decent. easy to program. And yeah, go ahead, have fun, experiment with it, and try out the different preons, see what you like. Well, I hope this tutorial helped you, and if you do have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section. And don't forget to please like and subscribe. Next week, I will be doing a head-to-head comparison between the YDDSABER RGBX version 3 soundboard and the new TXQ-Saber 16 Soundfont soundboard. Which one is better? Well, watch and find out. Until next time, I am your host, the Frugal Jedi. Thanks for watching.